Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k Show. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Justin Frederick and Ryan Gertis. You're going to want to go ahead and text the word market to 623-AZ-RECON. That's market to 623-AZ-RECON. That's AZRECON. So before we, earlier, when we were kind of just, BSing on what we were going to talk about, you had made a comment, and I concur, and I agree with you fully, because it's something that I've been saying, but we're currently in what I consider a buyer's market. And you made the comment that you think that the buyer's market, Justin, is going to be short-lived. Right now, when we look at the data, when we look at, take a look at the inventory, we take a look at average days on market, absorption rate, everything is screaming buyer's market. But
all the way around.
But you say that is short-lived.
And the reason why I say that is there's just been an uptick in mortgage applications. And with those mortgage applications, you kind of get a feeling. You've been doing this a long time. You get a feeling on are these people actually going to move forward and find a home? Or is that payment too high? How do they feel about that pre-qualification? And the feeling is they're going to buy a house. And as we continue to get more and more of these applications with more and more buyers, and this, I just got my team, but I can't imagine how many other lenders out there are feeling the same thing. We got homes back in the 300,000 area. We got rates in the fives. We got seller concessions coming in right now. That's the buyer's market part of it, where sellers are paying for closing costs. But at some point, when we get enough buyers, that's going to dwindle away. And I feel like, and tell me, you guys see it too, I feel like I'm seeing seller concessions dwindle right now. I feel like I'm not getting the amount of seller concessions that I was getting at the beginning of the year or last year. I feel like people are asking for it, and there's multiple offers on the house, and immediately you see people back off of those seller concessions, and let's just get under contract. Let's get this rate while it exists. I think the rate's going to exist for the year.
I would say yes and no to the question about concessions. If a home is priced properly, then absolutely. I feel like we're getting more pushback on concessions, and the amount of concessions that we're getting are decreasing. However, a lot of the houses that we are going after, or our clients are going after, is prices that are above market value. And so they are sitting, and there's some education. And we're still coming in with our offers at market value, but we're asking for a lot more in concessions. But because the house has been overpriced and now been on the market for 90 days and 100 days, that seller is feeling the pinch.
They're willing to wheel and deal at that point. They're like, get rid of this thing. Yeah. Well, you guys have an awesome strategy at going after these homes, and I feel like that's why your buyers, are going after these types of properties, because of your guys' strategy. And we see it with you guys. We're still seeing the concessions, but I've seen them dwindle across the board with other agents, other teams.
And plus, we've primarily focused on investors, and so I'm soaking up a lot of what you're saying. And there's a couple of things on which I'd like to elaborate, and maybe you can help me. Number one, you said there's a lot of mortgage applications coming in, which is indicative of a good appetite of any real estate market, whether it's a seller's or buyer's market. How many are you seeing that are refinance versus purchase? Can you give me like a ratio?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, the applications that are coming in for refinance is probably 1 out of 10.
So 10%?
Yeah.
All right.
And it's probably actually lower than that. I'm probably being conservative on that.
But if we wake up tomorrow and rates are in the mid fives, you probably see a lot more refis, right?
You'd probably see a lot more refis. You'd probably see if it moved just 0.5%, we'd probably see that pick up 60%.
So Q1 and Q2 of 2025 how many refinances did you
Zero.
do? Zero.
Yeah, zero. That's an easy number
right,
for me
yeah.
to tell you.
So I mean, but that's how about the year before that? How many?
Zero.
Zero. Right.
The year before that, zero.
Right. The year before that, zero. Right. And so what happens?
I can even spell that.
when we're transitioning markets, is the first thing to go is a massive just a ton of refinances.
Correct.
Right. And then once that is done, then all of a sudden it starts like we start seeing a massive increase in value.
That's fair.
Right. And so the other thing that you had said is that we are seeing a lot more loan applications that have a 3 in front of it as opposed to any number higher than that. Let's be honest. I don't know when you're going to be able to buy any type of significant real estate, like a single family 3-bedroom 2-bath home with a 2 in front of it.
No.
I don't know that those days
I mean,
are ever coming back.
they're there far,
Right.
Coolidge and Casa Grande,
Right.
maybe. You
yeah.
know?
They're just very few and far between. That being said, that discusses home affordability.
Yep.
And so what there just hasn't been a lot of traction in the first time home buyer, because prices stayed so stubborn for so long. And then last year you started seeing a few more of them, and then now we're seeing a lot more of them. And those first time home buyers for us, they turn into investors, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, it's usually not a good fit because we're pushing data, we're pushing numbers, we're pushing the future, where they're just like, I just want a bed to sleep in and a roof over my head, right? But the fact that you're seeing a lot more lower loan application numbers means that not only do we have some refinances in our future, like probably through this year, that I'll bet you that 10% jumps to a 20 or 30 by the end of this year.
I agree.
And then we're going to see a lot of those first-time home buyers eating up a lot of that inventory, particularly that inventory where some of these investors that have been sitting on their long-term rentals, they're going to be doing a little bit more dumping because they're going to want to have a little bit more cash on hand in order to do other different investment ventures. So what are your thoughts as far as how long are we going to see 3s in front of that, and what have you seen historically on your side?
Well, $300,000 properties. I mean, I just don't know how many of those we're going to actually see. But as far as how long, and this again is based on when is that flip going to happen. Mm-hmm. I feel like we'd be lucky to see it last until July. I feel like July, we tend to kick off pretty big in July. I just have a feeling this year through the holidays, we're going to be a lot busier than we were the last 4 or 5 years due to interest rates. I think that, how we normally have a fall in interest rates about August, September. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling that's going to continue due to inflation. But also, guys, what we've seen is property taxes. We've seen property taxes become lower in some areas. We've seen homeowners insurance premiums drop.
Can we get their name and number?
I know.
I have a few people that anyhow.
I hear you guys. But this all comes with home affordability, just like you were asking. And I think as more people are finding out, all right, well, do I qualify for the Home Ready program and the Home Possible program, low to moderate income programs? That's helping even reduce the rates even further, along with reduced mortgage insurance, along with lower premiums on taxes and insurance. We're finding out that these are affordable now. These are affordable, but for the longest time, we have 5 years of people, I think, that have been just sitting on the fence, maybe even 6 years of people that have been just sitting on the fence trying to find something, and they can't. And I think as the word gets out, it's going to shut down that buyer's market.
What we never see in our industry, the thing that we never see drop in price is HOAs.
HOAs never.
Right. I talk with a lot of people. Some of these HOAs are getting outrageous.
They have,
and they're so expensive, and sometimes it's not the insurance that is pricing somebody out of a home, especially when you're talking about a condo or a townhome, and it's the HOA payment. Because I'm working with someone right now. He's looking in the condos in Greyhawk, and then you got the one HOA, and then you got the second HOA, and
Then you got the master HOA.
then you got the master HOA, and it's insane.
Well, and with these HOAs, I pay attention to HOAs. I got my last HOA was too much, but and then they're not taking care of the community properties and things that they're supposed to be paying with that. That makes it tough for me. Yeah, what do you see?
Well, what I'm seeing with HOAs is in the wake of a lot of the turmoil in the insurance world. They're not getting insurance because most HOAs, particularly if we're talking about a townhouse or a condo, they have these massive blanket policies, and then if one person has a roof leak and that water seeps its way over into the neighboring unit, then everyone's over there pointing the finger at the other person, like, well, no, that's their fault. It's their unit. Oh no, it's their fault because it's their roof leak or their plumbing leak or whatever. And then the HOA is over there, like, okay, now we not only have a roof leak, but we have two units that are over here fighting over whatever, and then the lawsuits start flying, right? And then everyone's just sitting around, and everybody knows what happens when you let, let's stick with this water damage. It doesn't fix itself. It only gets worse, and then it just grows like a cancer. So what could have been, maybe a $5,000 fix is now a $50,000 lawsuit with an additional $100,000 worth of property damage, and nobody's happy. And when that's happening, everyone's on high alert. Everyone's looking for that pound of flesh. Oh, well, I had a plumbing leak too. We want to jump into that lawsuit. And now all of a sudden it started to snowball. And then you have these underwriters for these insurance policies saying, hey, you know what? HOA, screw you guys. We're not going to cover anything. As soon as this term's over, we're terming out. You need to find somebody else. They walk over to the next insurance company that just had the same damn thing happen to them, and they're like, okay, well, we'll take you on, but we're gonna triple your premiums. And then the HOA is like, okay, well, we're gonna have to go ahead and up the HOA cost by 2 or 3 times, and everyone's sitting around like, why the fuck should we pay you more when all you did is just screwed us over these past 10 years, and then now we're supposed to pay double or triple? So it's just a perpetual issue, and who knows what the actual answer is. I mean, at the end of the day, you might see some of these just completely let their HOAs go, or like in this one, the one for my daughter, like we spoke about last week, they literally said, hey, look, we have no insurance policy. You need to have a full-on single-family detached single-family detached policy on your unit. And I'm over here like, you know what? I'm okay with that because
I think that's a really good idea.
It was a good idea to do it. Yeah. It's cheaper than you having an HOA.
Yeah,
or that built into the HOA.
Our HOA is $150 a month. It's gated. It has its pool, and everything on the grounds are kept really nice. There's only one issue that I'll raise a little bit of a stink about, but at the end of the day, I'm not mad at how they have their HOA set up, even though I'm paying a little bit more on the insurance side. Now I am on a corner unit. So I only have one neighboring person, and so if anything happens and and it doesn't have to do with our unit, then I know who the culprit is, and I have a feeling I know who's going to win if there's ever an issue over on their side. So there you
I have a feeling too.
Well, we are talking about how we are currently in a buyer's market, and we have been, in my opinion, for a while, and that we think that the current buyer's market is short-lived. And we talk a lot about strategies and how we take advantage of, it doesn't really actually matter the market. We just have ways to take advantage of any market. But we do have specific strategies to help you take advantage of our current market to make sure that you get the most in concessions and you get the best deal possible. And if you'd like some more information, all you got to do is text the word market to 623-AZ-RECON. That's market to 623-AZ-RECON. Now, so Justin, what is it going to take in your eyes? What are the variables that you are looking for to see us switch from a buyer's market? And when you say the buyer's market is short-lived, are you thinking we're going to get more into a neutral market, or do you think we're going to get into a seller's market? Because I think that's an important
It is an important
point.
Yeah. I definitely think that we're going to get a neutral market. I don't think we're going to be headstrong enough to go into a seller's market, which is good because it'll keep prices low. But what we're going to see is concessions go away. Now, what I think is going to take for that is a little less inventory and more buyers. It's supply and demand, right? So I think we're going to have more demand with more buyers, and we're going to have less supply with less inventory. Maybe this lives a little longer because people start to see that homes are moving off the market, and they've pulled their home off the market in the last few years, and they're like, okay, honey, it's time to sell. We've been seeing homes move down the street now. They just put up the sign and it was sold. So let's put this on the market. They sold their house for $340. Let's try to list our house for $345 and see what happens. You know,
I was thinking about this, Ryan, the other day. I remember, I don't know for you, but I remember especially when I first started, and to me, I would, when we first started at New Home Information Center, I would classify that more as a neutral market, right?
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
And so right now, when we're posturing contracts, like if it's, if it's a Friday night at 7:00 and we're submitting an offer, we're typically giving the seller till Saturday evening to respond, like a 24-hour period, because we want an answer. We don't want any other offers to come in. But I remember when I started, it was standard 3 days. Because you didn't have to worry about three other offers coming in. You went and saw a house, and the clients are like, "Hey, give us a night to talk about it." Okay, fine.
You know what? Take the weekend.
Take the weekend, and then we submit an offer on a Monday, and we give them till Thursday at 5:00 to respond.
Yeah, but that was also when you had to chisel it into a stone.
Yeah,
and send
I
it
mean,
over,
we had to go over there, write it all out. We had the carbon copied paper, and then we had to fax it over.
and then the fax didn't go through.
Yeah.
Dude, I was here at the
You guys had dial-up internet at the time.
Here at the office, and for our listeners, we have an office inside our brokerage, and so I went to go to use the copy machine, and the copy machine technician's there, and I'm like, "Did we break it again?" No, and he goes, "I'm just updating the fax machine functions."
Stop it.
I'm like,
They still have that?
I'm like, yeah.
So for me, going back to your question, Mike, I mean, I think that we still, I think the real litmus test in Maricopa County has to do with, is it more expensive to own or is it more expensive to rent? Because I feel like that of home affordability they're kind of the foundation, the bedrock of what moves the overall market. Now, when it comes to the big stuff, the luxury stuff, I don't really know that too much has happened over there. Because when people have money and money's cheap, then they leverage it. If the money's expensive, then they just pay cash.
Yep.
And so it doesn't really affect them too much. And I think that the past 5 years has kind of proved that. But for those first or second home buyers, if it's more affordable for them to rent, then they're going to sell their place and rent. Or they're just not going to buy, and they're not going to be a homeowner until they see a place where it makes more sense to do that. And so we're finally starting to get a glimpse of that. Some of our investors are finally saying, you know what? I'm getting a good enough deal over here. I don't need a whole lot of passive income on it, and I need a place to either shelter my cash, because I'm not getting anything over here from stocks, or I'm not getting over here from my hedge fund, or I'm not getting it from my 401k. And so I'd rather just invest in real estate and let it sit there for 5-7 years, because they understand that the cycle of real estate, right? So I think that we, like what you had mentioned earlier, Justin, we have our window is shortening. We've been in a buyer's market, and I would say better part of a year. A lot of people would argue with me on that. That's fine.
I agree with you.
But I think by Q4, we are going to start seeing a balanced market where you're going to essentially be renting the same house for what you would be purchasing it for, giving the prime interest rate with standard down payments. Now, if you're doing a VA with zero down, or you're doing a DPA or something like that, where you're trying to get 100% leverage, or as much leverage as you can, then you're probably still not. Then it's probably going to be still cheaper to rent than it is to own. But we're pretty damn close.
I only pushback I'd give you. I'm more at Q3. I think we're going to see the shift in Q3 because it tends to be the summer tends to be a busier market.
Fair.
And I do feel like the new chairman, Fed chair, is going to come in, and I think he's going to be, or he or she's going to be a little bit more aggressive because they take over in May, right? My understanding.
They're already working.
Oh.
They're already working, and Warsh's, what they've said is he's basically just like an extension of Powell.
Oh, lovely.
So I don't think we're gonna get the direction that we were hoping for.
Oh, okay.
Which
I take back what I said.
Yeah.
But I do think that really what's going to be the driving force is that there's going to be a lot less of these big box landlords. I think they've made it abundantly clear that if they're not going to limit to 100 or 100 or less, then they're probably going to start imposing some either tax implications or some type of consequence that's going to make it so that it's not going to be as fiscally profitable in order to buy hundreds of homes to rent them out. And so it's going to give more opportunity to those first-time home buyers that are looking for those more introductory properties and essentially start driving rental rates up.
I believe there's always going to be a loophole for that.
I believe that too.
Yeah.
But I do also think that it is going to scare off some.
I think it's going to scare off a lot of your low end investors, which is terrible. But I think that the big investors are going to figure it out.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, there you have it. If you are looking to invest in the Arizona real estate market and want to understand our strategies, and we are all investors ourselves, and or you are looking to buy your next investment property or just a home to live in, and you want to take advantage of the buyer's market and learn more about how we posture our offers and our contracts, all you got to do is text the word market to 623 AZ Recon. That's market to 623 AZ Recon.